industrial management and the educational management. He has also been instrumental in design and establishment of International School of Agriculture at Pantnagar, especially for the candidates from SAARC nations. He has also been member of the board of ICAR, board of IDBI, Research Advisory Committee of NDRI Karnal, member of board of management of I think Indira Gandhi Krishi Vidyalaya at Raipur, and the member of planning board Baba Saheb Ambedkar University at Lucknow. With this, I think we are benefited with Dr. Best long experience and the association, and I now invite Professor Best to give his address. Professor, please.
Professor Prem Varsa, Sri P.P. Srivastava ji, Sri Pradeep Jolly, Madam Anuradha Sharma, Naresh Gill ji, all the members of Executive Committee, Knowledge Resource Development and Working Group, delegates from different universities, IIT Delhi, various universities, including my colleague from Pantnagar, ladies and gentlemen. So again, good morning to you, and it's a wonderful morning that we are discussing a holistic education over here. And thanks to Naresh again, once again, on my behalf, for raising this issue and trying to find out as to how experiences could be shared and what could be the key areas. Honorable Professor Premvrat ji has already laid the guidelines basically for the discussion, and I fully agree with him that we are a young nation and we have huge population which is either getting education or waiting for education. They are in pipeline and very soon to be flooded, and that's why we talk about 12,000 universities or something like that, and the population of about 2 crore may be enrolled in universities. At present, hardly about 5-6% are enrolled. If we talk about 15% of young people to be enrolled in universities, we'll have about 2 crore people to be enrolled very soon in the universities. And you can imagine the condition of the universities, because some of the universities I know, traditional universities, say for example one college, there are about 12,000 students enrolled. If they start coming for examination, all of them, there is no seat available for all of them. What to talk of classes? So professors prefer that the students don't come to the classes. Otherwise, if they all turn up for the classes, it will be very difficult to manage the classes. Now that is the plight of Indian education. And that's why a lot of business is also growing in education. And quality education, always there will be a scope. So some of the experiences I like to share. I don't have the experience of going ahead for educating in elite institutions like IIT and IIM, though I have studied over there. I have my MBA from over there. So I have the experiences of other universities which are running with the technical programs and management programs, and basically the focus will be today on these two. Of course, right from nursery to the doctoral and higher education levels, the entire will be the kind of the students that look forward for smaller institutions, smaller in the sense that they don't have big names and big pay packages for the graduating students. There, it's a huge number. First, the entry is that we get about 2, 3, 4, 5 years old students, those who had completed 10+2. This time I got at Pantnagar students who did their +2 in the year 2005 also. Usually, invariably, I ask this question during introductory sessions. In 2005, you can imagine, he has already tried for IIT, he also tried for other institutions, NITs and all that, and then finally he lands up into these kind of state universities and institutions. It is not that he is not brilliant. It is not that he has got very poor resources, but somehow he could not get through, or she could not get through, because the competition is really tough. So I'm just eliminating for that moment the IITs and IIMs. So that will be dealt probably by Professor Bharat again and Sri P.P. Srivastavaji and other speakers. So this particular group is a huge group. Expectations of parents are enormous. The day they come forward, that they will like to look into the room and then they will like to talk to the dean and vice chancellor preferably. Lot of expectations of parents and students also. And we have to deliver at the same time, not only meeting the expectations because they are clients, but also the holistic and quality education which will be good for the society. Otherwise, these will be the liabilities in future. And we also have the same opinion, sir, that unless we absorb them, I'm sorry, it may not be very structured, but some of the experiences. This time, I have made a change over there. Even the failed students in technology, we were failing students getting less than 5 out of 10. They were going out, and the percentage is about 8 to 9% of such type of dropouts from first year. I tried to analyze as to where these students are going, and to my surprise, many of them have discontinued the studies. Can you imagine? Now, what will be the fate of these people, brilliant people, those who could not score 5 out of 10 in first year and dropped by us? Now they are back into the stream in the society, and where they will end up. So finally I decided that I will have to fight my academic council, I will have to convince them, I will have to convince the government, and then re-absorb them in the university with the condition that if they again fail, then they will be finally dropped. So giving them one more opportunity. The only reason was what Professor Bharat, again I repeat, what he told, that if they are not in the mainstream, the cost, the economic cost, the social cost of dropping these out, vis-a-vis the quality that I am sacrificing. My academic council was furious on me. आप कर क्या रहे हैं? ये quality हमारा खराब हो जाएगा. मैंने कहा, what quality you are talking about? Which quality you are talking about? Is it the academic excellence only? Or are you willing to give them another opportunity to gain whatever standards you have fixed up? Placement cells also in our gloves, every university doing good job, and they are able to place people. We will be debarring them from placement and all that, but they will find placement, no problem. So that, that change also we made this time. Another thing is, what do we talk of holistic education? What is quality education? Big question marks. Do we feel that in physics, chemistry and mathematics they should be good? They should score 80 marks and 90 marks. Do we call them as quality students? 8 out of 10 CGPA, OGPA, whatever it is. Do we call them excellent students? If I go to, say, a chemical industry, their standards are entirely different. If my students are going to banks for that matter, their standards, quality standards are different. If they are going to marketing jobs, they want different kinds of attributes in a particular candidate. And if they go in for manufacturing and design jobs and R&D jobs, teaching jobs, the attributes are different. Now, how do you do it? How do you measure? What requirements are there with respect to the industry? And industry is really now in multidisciplinary and multi-activity and multi-location and handling the human resource and the thousands of students. Now, ultimately, we realize that it will just be imaginary if I fit in the kind of course curriculum of my students based on, say, for example, the fertilizer. So then we dropped this idea. Now we are inviting experts, all right, for giving their views about the industry. It's okay, but we are not trying to focus on a particular industry. But my entire focus, I must tell you, are on 2-3 things only. Number one, academic excellence. What's our courses? What's our AICTE? What's our Indian Council of Agricultural Research? What's our Other institutions are suggesting that these are the course programs and these are the basket of courses. We are offering them religiously, and we want students to excel in that. More thrust on basic courses. Basic means basic sciences, physics, chemistry, mathematics, in our case biology is also there, and then say manufacturing, technology, and then design, drawings, surveying, and all that. We are giving a lot of thrust on that in technical education. And later on, of course, the professors, if they are sincere enough, they will go ahead nicely, and the students, if they are sincere enough, they will also go ahead. But more thrust is on these basic courses. More facilities, more of tutorials, more of practical classes, and more of the basics. The basics have to be very, very strong so that they can develop in any industry they like in future. Even in finance they want to go, let them go, because you can't now restrict people. I have been, of course, telling that many times, that we also need people for science, technology, and education. But hardly few are coming. The best possible students are getting placement right in the third year or fourth year. Fourth year, almost everybody is getting placed by December or so. If there is no placement for someone by some chance, he starts weeping, he starts getting depressed, though the degree is 6 months away. And nobody is, despite all of our encouragement, nobody is coming forward for doing MTech or MSc or for that matter later on PhD. So the filtering process is there. We also require good people, intelligent people, sincere people, hardworking people for teaching, education, R&D jobs, and even for extension jobs in our case, specific cases. And hardly few people are available in that sector. And the package is also not that. And immediately after 4 years of 10+2, it becomes a dream situation for anyone. In teaching, we can't offer that much. This is number one, academic excellence, we are focusing. Number two, we are focusing on not keeping them without work, any point of time. So 220 or whatever number of days are there. My friend, colleague, Dr. Srivastava can tell me, so many credit hours and so much of load. Almost every hour is taken care of in academics, plus in extracurricular activities they have to be kept engaged. Number one, first year NCC is also there, NSS is there. Then we have work program, a very specific course that Pantnagar is having. That means he has to do some outside job also, social job. झाड़ी साफ करने का है, नाली साफ करने का है, या सड़कें ठीक करने का है, या किसी को हेल्प करने का है, गांव में जाके काम करने का है. It is not village orientation program. It is work program, what we call. And then teachers are, instructors are there, and depending upon how sincere a person is in his work, he will be awarded marks. So not keeping them at all free, no free time. Then, of course, we have the hourly and quizzes, and then the annual examinations or practical examinations. So every day there is some examination going on. Number two, not to keep them in the university, cultural society is there, then there is Vivekananda Society, then there is Srijan Society, then there are 4H Club and whatnot and whatnot. So students are basically engaged depending upon their kind of choices they have. They keep themselves very much engaged in that. Number two. Number three, a moral education. Morally we want to, this is for not keeping them free. Number three, physically and mentally fit. For physical fitness, a lot of sports activities and a lot of facilities in the hostel itself have been provided. For mental fitness, we try to keep them engaged in several activities which are creative in nature. Right from the first year itself, we start choosing the people and then grooming them also through various clubs and all that. And trying to see that they also start acting as sort of motivators for others, etc., etc. So trying to develop them mentally as well, morally and mentally. These are the aspects that what we try to do. Yet another, I have been telling my colleagues that we have at, say for example, Pantnagar, two main clients. Number one client is student. So our teachers have to be focused to that and to devote time for them. Without students, there is no teacher. So no ego for teachers. You should not have a lot of ego for them, but try to help them out. And number two, we have, of course, at university like Agriculture University, the farmers. Farmer means not only doing only farming, but also a host of activities are there, and agribusiness is also there. So that is the second client. So for these two clients, we have to be very sensitive. Client number one is student. So if we are devoted for association meeting over there, and then students also participating in that, and sort of institutionalization of the processes, institutional processes, is carrying over the legacy from one generation to another generation. Even from 1960 batch graduates entry, 1960. So still they are there, and they are trying to pass on as to what is the rich tradition of the university. So that deviations, as far as the moral aspects are there, these are not there. And what we are trying to tell them is, number one, academic excellence. Number two, team spirit. You have not there, you have to do it alone. But in most of the industrial situations and other organizational situations, it is a teamwork. And for that matter, you have to work in the team and you have to fit into the team. That also we try to inculcate the value system of working with the team and helping the team out and helping the team leader out in various activities or projects. That also we try to do it that way. Number three, we also a little different concept than IITs and IIMs. That the organizational loyalty also we try to inculcate. The concept of organizational loyalty, it may look very different to some of the young people, because we are always in a process of jumping out to the new place and new institution for little more gains. But we try to say that once you have to be very selective in joining one organization. And after you join the organization, you have to be loyal to it. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, okay. Not that right from the day you join the organization, you start jumping out. So these are the kind of attributes that we try to inculcate. As far as the total scenario is concerned, there is only about 8% of the total enrollable young people, those who take education in technical or managerial management institutions, only 8%, about 16% in science subjects and about 50% in arts and other social subjects, social sciences. Now this 8%, ideally about 20% of the students would like to go in for technical and management education. There is 2.5 times the gap which is existing. And it is not that they are very inferior, which will not be able to cope up. These will be very much able to cope up. Leaving aside some of the issues, social, say, SC, ST, OBC, and all others, physically handicapped, we have to help them out. And university like me, they are having different programs also. For weaker sections of the society, we have tutorial programs in which whatsoever is left out and they are not able to understand, the teacher is paid well, good honorarium, and he can take classes. And these are also compulsory. Now, leaving aside that, a huge number is waiting for these institutions, and it could be a big resource for us. Quality has to be measured in terms of AICTE has laid the norms. So many professors, so much of library, so much of sitting space, so much of hostel space, and this kind of facility and that kind of facility. I think that is more than enough. If we religiously follow, that is more than enough. But what is the gap is basically we are not getting teachers. In almost invariably all the institutions, what I find is 50, 60, 70% is the kind of the posts that have been filled up. Even up to 50% positions in some of the institutions are vacant. We have to somehow find out ways and means in order to have faculty which is mentally and educationally good enough for meeting your standards. You cannot expect everything from the students. Whatsoever technology is there, it could be a smart classroom, it could be remote classes, it could be e-classes and e-learning systems, distance education, whatsoever. But then the teacher-taught relationship will always hold good. And best possible education, I feel, it is my opinion, that classroom kind of a situation is always desirable. It can give you the maximum benefits because you have one-to-one relationship with the teacher taught. So if the quality has to come, it has to come from teacher also. And for teacher selection and going for teaching jobs could also be very much challenging. We are simply sometimes 70% of the total score at assistant professor level is given based on the score in BTech, score in MTech, PhD, whether done or not, whether PhD is done, with coursework or without coursework, how many publications, what is the experience, and then you add up to 70. The interviews only 30%, in some of the cases, interviews are avoided for reasons better known. Really, in educational institutions, it's not only today's, tomorrow's liability, but it is for 30 years or 40 years, a teacher will be there in that institution. So the organization should be very careful in also selecting the teachers. It should not be just a few minutes job, 5 minutes job. No. Indian Army, for that matter, for short service, it takes about 7 days to select one of communicate with the students, and they are very rude to the students, or otherwise there will be disinterest in the classrooms. So these aspects also need to be. Third is the technological aspect. The education technology, it is moving very fast nowadays. We have bigger and bigger classrooms now. Earlier 30 students used to be in one batch or one classroom. But nowadays classrooms are even up to 180 or 200, 210 students. How to deal with them? You lose contact with all of them. The teacher is not able to cope up. So the education technology has to play a very important role. We have been revising courses, that's okay. But revising courses in some of the institutions is very frequent. So such frequency is also not desirable. Particularly I find it lower level, NCERT. I have been with CBSE also, NCERT also. Now the course curriculum is redesigned and re-innovated very frequently. This frequency is not also, in my opinion, very much desirable. You should allow testing